this is a fairly advanced stage. Number 4 might be called, for lack of some other word that I haven't thought of, consenting to nothingness, or consent to be nothing. In general, in the spiritual journey, it's a good idea to leave out nouns as much as you can, because it's something that's happening. It's something that we're becoming. It's something that even God is becoming, without ceasing to be, of course, what he is. But so Spanakar thinks that the very nature of being, or the best way to think about it, is that it's always becoming. So it's always better, always wonderful. Well, anyway, here we are in our stillness, and let us say that the stillness or silence has morphed into presence, and so we're experiencing something like the prayer of quiet, as St. Teresa describes it, or we're just plain quiet. The trouble with the prayer of quiet is it's sufficiently strong an experience that it becomes a center of attention, and so at some point we have to move beyond it, and then one may be regularly in the prayer of quiet without it being consoling. It's just silence in the presence of God. So when stillness has morphed a few times into presence, then presence continues to grow and to become. It's more and more of a presence, and that can bring us into moments of pure consciousness. Well, this is obviously a lively wooing, so to speak, of the soul by God. I mean, this is what St. John of the Cross would describe of the engagement between God and the soul, in which it's come so far that it's not likely to start going back, and its very silence now at times moves into a depth in which the self is temporarily completely forgotten, or certainly completely ignored. In other words, the experience of pure awareness or pure consciousness is consciousness without any particular content. But it's consciousness of something, even if that something hasn't emerged yet. And that something is precisely the possibility of everything happening. So the opposite of everything, I suppose, is nothing. So the consent to nothing is the consent to experience the native emptiness that we are, as having come out of nothingness and created from nothingness, or coming from a source at least outside ourselves, and are beginning to let go of the false self. And that's the following Jesus' advice. To bring yourself to nothing is to find out who you are, he says in that wisdom saying. So we're beginning to find out who we are without being able to express it in rational terms. And it's very good. But there's not a reflection on how good it is in the state of pure consciousness. So the consent to nothingness is really a consent to let this happen. And it gives a further motivation to let go of all casual reflections. And it means that we may move into our silence or prayer with the greatest of ease, without any preparation. Because our whole life has been a preparation. Or it's never separated from the basic content of the prayer, which is with us even when we don't feel it or perceive it, as the divine indwelling or the permanent presence of God. So contemplation in the full sense of the word, according to John of the Cross, is the continuous conscious presence of God, or awareness of the presence of God. Well, in the prayer, it's obviously a time for intimacy, and this is a time when the night of sense has been completed, and if there's any night at all, it's a movement into the night of spirit. But it doesn't happen right away, and maybe years of this intimate that is kind of a long engagement. And it's interrupted at times by some warnings that the night of spirit might come, but it also is full of affirmation, so that one's confidence in the presence of God and God's protection and love, and perhaps some experience of how much God loves us might take place in this fourth consent. But it means that you're not using or don't need to use any symbol anymore, because you're already at a place that the symbol is meant to facilitate you to accept. So each of these consents is a deeper consent to our nothingness, and a deeper consent to become everything or all in God, or a deeper consent to let God be all in us, or Christ be all in us. Two phrases that you find in St. Paul.